Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in years, the Toronto Blue Jays are American League East Division champions, and they are preparing for a showdown against either the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees. In the MLB Division Series is a best of five. How did they get to this point? Welcome to Blue Jays Weekly Recap. Let's get rolling. Lights up, let's go. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Blue Jay fans, welcome in to Blue Jays Weekly Recap, I know I talked about this on Bill's post-game earlier when we did a post-game show on the Monday. Today we're doing our weekly Blue Jay recap on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. As we speak, it is the MLB postseason opener, the opening round, which is the American League and National League Wildcard Series. The winners of the Wildcard Series will face the Toronto Blue Jays. Both teams, the Blue Jays, Mariners, Phillies, and Milwaukee Brewers, await those winners. Who are the teams competing? We'll talk about that before we go back into the regular season for a quick review of how the Blue Jays got to the postseason and for the first time, as I mentioned off the top, in 10 years, scored the American League East Division and one of the two best records in baseball in the American League. Before we jump into the homestand that featured for the Blue Jays, it featured the Red Sox and the Rays. Want to remind you that the Rays also played Toronto before the Blue Jays played Kansas City. We'll talk about that momentarily. Before we get there, who are the opponents that are going to battle from today to tomorrow and probably Thursday, October 2nd? 2025. The Seattle Mariners will await the winner of Guardians versus Tigers in a best-of-3 series that starts in Progressive Field and is underway as we speak. They will play game number 2 tomorrow at the same time they threw first pitch today, which is 1:08 p.m. Eastern. Coming up at 3:08 p.m. is the team that will face off against the teams in the National League that will face off against the Milwaukee Brewers. The teams competing for a chance to face Milwaukee are the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs. On the other side of the coin, in the American League Wildcard, the teams, as we mentioned, that are fighting for a spot in the ALDS against the Toronto Blue Jays on Saturday, October 4th, 2025 to October 5th, 2025, and so on. They are Alex Cora's Boston Red Sox against Aaron Boone's New York Yankees. Who will John Schneider and the Blue Jays face this Saturday? Are they going to face Alex Cora and the Red Sox? Or will they face Aaron Boone and the New York Yankees? We'll know by the time the best-of-3 wildcard series between the Red Sox and the Yankees, that's right, it's a best-of-3 that will go to a best-of-5 come Saturday. We'll know who the Blue Jays will play in the best-of-5 division series when the dust settles on the wild card. The teams fighting to battle the Philadelphia Phillies are the defending World Series champion Dodgers of LA. But to get to that point against the Philadelphia Phillies, Dave Roberts' LA Dodgers must take on Terry Francona's Cincinnati Reds. First pitch of game number 1 of that series goes at 9:08 p.m. Eastern. For the Red Sox and the Yankees, first pitch flies at 6:08 p.m. Eastern. And coming up, the first of 2 divisional National League Wildcard games is about to begin at p.m. Eastern. Game 1 starts between the Padres and the Cubs. We're headed to the 7th as we speak in game 1 of the series where the Tigers or the Guardians will advance to face the Seattle Mariners. All right, we're going to bring on our host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, Thomas McGregor. We will talk not specifically about the road trip and the homestand, but specifically our thoughts on how the homestand and the road trip in Tampa Bay against Toronto. We will talk about it all coming up on Blue Jays Weekly Recap. American League Division Series in which they will host either the Red Sox or the Yankees. Want to remind fans of baseball and fans of the Blue Jays specifically that you can get in on the action on our Discord server. We will also have it up on our WhatsApp chat as well. And when we post the football show as well as this show, you can get in on the action and provide us your take. Which would you prefer, Red Sox versus Blue Jays or Yankees versus Blue Jays? With that said, we're going to take a timeout. When we return, Thomas will be here with us. Before Thomas and I talk about that, we're going to give you our thoughts on the season for the Toronto Blue Jays, how we felt the Blue Jays did in their homestand series against the Red Sox and Tampa Bay when Tampa Bay came back to Toronto after playing the Blue Jays at Steinbrenner Field. Blue Jays Weekly Recap continues as we talk about with Thomas next. How did the Blue Jays do on the road? And how did the Blue Jays do at home to get their records they ended the season with? We'll also discuss with Thomas, taking us right up to the end of our show, who we believe the Blue Jays should end up facing this Saturday and Sunday at Rogers Center to kick off the American League Division Series in the MLB playoffs. We'll take a timeout. When we return, Thomas will join us in studio.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays Weekly Recap. I'm your host, Scott McGregor, host of also Weekly in Sports Blue Jays weekly recap, and of course, Blue Jays game recap, as well as a couple other shows, are part of the Sports for Beginners network. And just to quickly note for you there, that network will take place when we have everything podcast related for Sports for Beginners in place. Same thing for On the Ice and Behind the Benches, but we'll talk about that later. This is Blue Jays Weekly Recap. So, Thomas, first of all, how are you feeling after quite a Sunday to remember for Blue Jays fans?
I'm feeling well. I'm feeling well. It's really exciting. Sunday to remember, as we all know. It's a real fun Sunday to remember. Really exciting. As you know, the postseason hangs in the balance. And of course, we're stuck asking the question, Blue Jay fans, who would we rather see play us at Rogers Center, knowing we have home field advantage? So when you put that into perspective, I kind of like that these 2 days off, Wednesday, Thursday as well, our days off, as well as Friday, when you're getting ready for who you actually face on Saturday on the ALDS series. I'm actually wondering what everyone's wondering. So, Scott, I mean, look, let's look at the season as a whole. Going into the final games of this Blue Jay season, there was a lot to go through. I mean, we could have simply said before the season began that the Blue Jays would be here, and a lot of people would say, how? How are they going to get here? They have people like George. They have people like Blatty. They have people like Farshow. They have people like Luke's. All those different people that I just mentioned. And while some of them are young, most of the team is a veteran team. And I'm not saying that because it's true. I'm not saying that because it's, well, a fact. I'm not even saying it from my own perspective. I'm saying it because it's what people have talked about the Blue Jays for many generations. And they're right. This is a team who, at the very beginning of the season, if we had said that they'd be here in the postseason, which we didn't, but if we did, everybody would be asking exclamation points. Why are the Blue Jays here? Do they deserve it? And you and I as Blue Jay fans, and I'm sure many Blue Jay fans out there listening and watching, would say, we're here because we turned it around. We, like many of you baseball fans out there, for the Yankees, Tiger fans, Guardian fans, every fan base in between, we're saying exactly what you were saying. We didn't think they would do it this year, and they punched us in the mouth and said, yeah, you know what? Keep doubting us, but we will find ways to impress you. And behold, you get Boston, you get the Rays, Yankees, get the White Sox, they get the Orioles, with the sole purpose of getting the AL East decided. Now, MLB, I'll be really honest. If I'm in your position Sunday of this past weekend, I was hoping that the Blue Jays and the Yankees would have decided the division by Saturday. That did not become the case. And why? Because the scenarios were, with the Blue Jays having the tiebreaker, as many of us all know, if both teams were to win out their series against the White Sox, the Red Sox, even Tampa Bay, we'd be knotted at one game tied for the division. I had said to Blue Jay fans who were at Rogers Center during that final series against the Rays, if it were to come down to a Yankee win and a Blue Jay loss, or a Blue Jay win and a Yankee loss, but they both won, how would you be feeling waking up on Sunday morning knowing that you're a game away from sweeping the Orioles, a game away from sweeping the Rays of Tampa Bay, and yet one game that goes final determines the winner of the AL East division. The other determines the wild card opponent.
Yes, and speaking of that, that pretty much sums up the entire road trip and homestand. But just to remind fans as to what happened, the Blue Jays took two of their final games on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays, playing in Steinbrenner Field. They also lost the series to Kansas City, 2 games out of 3. But they were almost swept by Kansas City, and they picked up the slack in Kansas City and also would win that finale game 8-5, which, by the way, put them in the position that they are in now in the postseason. Now, what put them in the position to win the division, even though they have the tiebreaker with the Yankees, they had the tiebreaker, I should say, they did not start off well with the Red Sox at home. Also, keep in mind, heading into that homestand, the Blue Jays record at home was 54-20 at home, if I'm not mistaken. I might have had that wrong, but that's okay. They finished the regular season with a record at home of 54-27. The record on the road finished at 40-41. So their record, Blue Jay fans, at home, the Blue Jay record at home is not that bad. Actually, it is not bad at all. It is great. They're good at home. The Blue Jays road record was 40-41. 40 wins, 41 losses. At home, they were 54-27 to end the year, which means they have won 54 games at home this season and only lost 27 games. Now, against 500 teams, they were even better. 49-41, but we're in the postseason now. It's a totally new state. It's a totally new stage. Everybody's starting back at 0-0. The point is, the Blue Jays did what they had to do, and although they lost 2 out of 3 to Boston in the final series against Boston of the regular season, they salvaged that series, winning 6-1 on Thursday night at Rogers Center. Let's go to the weekend series. And Thomas, you and I both knew in Sunday's game that the division for the Blue Jays was going to be, that the American League division was going to be the Blue Jays when the Blue Jays went ahead after it became 5-4 Blue Jays. Once they made it 6-4 Blue Jays, or 8-4 Blue Jays, we knew if they got any higher, the Blue Jays were going to win the division on Sunday, and that's exactly what they did. But I want to talk about specifically from that series, not the 4-2 win on Friday. I want to talk about the game on Saturday, the 5-1 win, which also, and I'm going to give a shout out here, shout out to the rookie, Trey Yousavage, who has had quite a year. He started the year in single A after being drafted last year. He went to double A. He also played in the complex league before going to single A. Then he went to the double A level, and lo and behold, he made it to playing with the Buffalo Bisons in AAA. And then you fast forward to his first start against the same team he played in this past weekend series against Tampa Bay. Yes, he went a no decision in his first start, which was against the Tampa Bay Rays at M. Steinbrenner Field. But guess what? He pitched in front of a packed crowd in Toronto, Ontario on Saturday, and he answered the bell. And yes, reminder as well, he also went a no decision in his last game that he played in just his second big league opponent that he would face, which would be the Kansas City Royals. So he's had 2 no decisions in 3 major league starts this year. In his third start, finally, we could say, Trey Yousavage, you conquered the beast and got your first MLB big dub of your career, your first MLB win at the major league level. Congratulations to you. That came in Saturday's 5-1 win over the Tampa Bay Rays. But Thomas, I want to talk about Trey. We could talk about Vladdy. We could talk about George, Bo. We could talk about everybody. Now, Bo did not play the rest of the season, but he could play postseason. We don't know yet if he will or not. But let me talk about Trey Yousavage. First of all, for you, what has impressed you about Trey? 3 major league starts this regular season, and now he possibly has an opportunity to start in one of the best of 5 big league games in the American League Division Series starting this Saturday. What has impressed you about the rookie, Trey Yousavage, starting in Single A, going to the Complex League, going to Double A, going to Triple A, and before the season is over, he's in the big leagues with the big ball club?
I mean, look, honestly, it's remarkable. Some people may have difference of opinion, but that's okay. It's remarkable because here's a guy who, as you said, went in the Florida Complex League, played well there, went to Double A, played well there, went to Triple A, Buffalo, and within the same time frame of the entire 162 game season, the Toronto Blue Jays, after seeing how well they had done with this guy in the Florida Complex League, after seeing how well he played with Dunedin, how well he played with Double A, how well he played with Buffalo Bisons, the Toronto Blue Jay AAA team, they said, let's get this guy up here, see what he's made of. You mentioned it. He went one game with no decision. And then, of course, when the big lights called in a packed Rogers Center, yes, I said packed Rogers Center, when the big bats called after playing in a minor league park, a place that's very known for guys like Trey and all those other people I mentioned, no one could have predicted that Trey Yousavage would not have as pitiable of a moment as he did against the Tampa Bay Rays in the final series for the Blue Jays in 2025. Heck, I don't even think guys like Keegan Matheson would have predicted that. You look at the people I mentioned for MLB, when I talked about the Yankees tiebreaker with the Blue Jays having the tiebreaker and everybody asking themselves if they were in that position. Like I mentioned, if I was in that position, what I would be hoping I'd wake up coming into work on Sunday, still looking at a division and saying, okay, well, at least Sunday's game doesn't matter. Turns out it does matter. And for guys like Trey Yousavage and all the guys that the Blue Jays had in such a critical series, where you are just a game tied with the Yankees in the AL East, the hardest division in baseball to win, you look at it and you say, well, here I am. If I really want this division, do I sweep my team that I'm against, or do I put my money where my mouth is and ask the opponent that is facing the guy that's tied with me to beat the crap out of them so I can get the AL East? But getting back to Trey Savage, yeah, this guy, he is something else. He is one of those guys you never see coming. I said it with a lot of people at Rogers Center that come to the games. I said it with them. I said, don't be surprised if there are those type of guys like Trey Yousavage and anyone else that becomes, when you feel like you're up and down, don't be surprised when these guys who come in play their baseball and you don't see them coming. Because if you don't see them coming, then baseball for you is going to be like you just don't care. But I know everybody cares about baseball. Everybody cares about football. They care about hockey. They care about whatever sport. Well, their team. I know that. I understand that. I respect that. But Trey Yousavage is a guy, just like everybody else, that if you go into a series and you see a guy who you thought you'd never see this season, he's a guy that the Blue Jays need. The Yankees may need him. Should they look that way? He's the guy that any team in this postseason would say, well, hell, I want that guy because he will get me wins. He will get me where I want to go. And he'll be basically a household name. That seems like a bold prediction right now, but could happen. You never know.
Yes, indeed, it could happen. It could happen. So, with that being the case, we're going to talk about who we think is suitable to face the Blue Jays in the divisional series momentarily, but let's talk about the other series currently going on. So, we got the Tigers and the Guardians in a battle for the Seattle Mariners. For me personally, I don't care who wins that series to take on Seattle. I will care, however, when it comes to Seattle and whoever wins that series between the Guardians and the Tigers, which is going on right now. It's a best of 3. I believe that if it comes down to it, it will be the Tigers and the Mariners going head to head for the chance to advance to the American League Championship Series, which is the ALCS for short. But Thomas, looking at Guardians Tigers, who do you think is going to face the Mariners? Want to remind everybody before Thomas answers that first game is in the 8th inning as we speak, and the Tigers have a 2-1 advantage on Cleveland right now. Red Sox and Yankees set to go at 8 p.m. Eastern. Reds and Dodgers at 8 p.m. Eastern. And ongoing right now in the bottom of the first, we have the Cubs and Padres in game 1 of their series. So Thomas, Tigers, Guardians, who do you think is going to face Seattle come Saturday?
Yeah, in all honesty, as a Blue Jay fan, I would love to see Guardians take on the Mariners. I would love to see that. If that wasn't the case, I definitely, Seattle fans, whether you're in Vancouver or you're close to Seattle as possible, take this how you see it. But if the Tigers were to face you in the ALDS, just enjoy the action while it happens. Because, I don't know, there's something about Tarek Skubal or whoever is ready to play in that series with the Tigers that I just see the Mariners fading against. So I don't think having a Tigers-Mariners match would be a good series. It'd be fun to watch, no question about it, but it would be one of those series where you're just like, here it is. If we lose, well, we did our job. We got postseason, but we couldn't get past them. And if they were to win out that series, it kind of be one of those, here we go. Now we've defeated the Tigers. Who are we going to face next? And that's either between Boston Yankees, Blue Jays, whatever the case will be. I think it would be better to play the Guardians for the Mariners.
And we got Cubbies versus Padres. Winner takes on the Brewers in that series for the division. Winner of Reds and Dodgers faces the Philadelphia Phillies. So if we were to base it off of managers for the NL side of things, but who do you think the Phillies are likely going to face between the Dodgers and the Reds?
Yeah, I think it's the Dodgers against the Phillies as well. No disrespect to the wild card opponent that the Dodgers are facing in Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati will have a great series with the Dodgers. But again, it is a best out of 3, which means if you win 2, you advanced. And I don't know if Cincinnati has the right people just yet to win a wild card match. If it was Cincinnati versus the Padres, I could probably see Cincinnati winning that match. But I don't think the Dodgers will let the Reds go so easy. So I'm going with the Dodgers on this one to face the Phillies. Let's see if the Dodgers have a championship run in them. Remember, they're the defending champs for a reason. So let's see if they have it. As far as Cubs and the Padres go, I think Padres will have it, but the Cubs will play spoiler. And remember, Wrigley Field is used to losing. However, this is their big chance to kind of change that narrative and provide something you think you'd only see in your dreams. So if this series was to go to game 3 and something was to go wrong with the Padres, I'd see the Cubs winning and taking on the Brewers. Would it be a great match? Absolutely. Would Padres and Brewers be a great match? Yeah, definitely. But if something were to go wrong in San Diego, then I think it's pretty obvious it's going to be the Brewers and the Cubs. Now, the problem with the Brewers versus Cubs would be is they'd be facing a team who wants to get them out, and that's the Cubs. If they face the Padres, obviously the Padres want to get the Brewers out, but how much would they want to get them out? So I think it's going to be the Padres winning that series, but I can see the Cubs finding a way to change the narrative if something were to go wrong in San Diego. Ultimately, I think the Padres will play past the wild card, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the Cubs side, and I'm gonna say Cubbies will take on the Pro. Again, it's a best of three. So if the Cubbies were to win today, and then the Padres were to win tomorrow, we could see it come down to the wire on game number 3. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Thomas and I will discuss not necessarily the Red Sox, the Tigers or Guardians, or the other NL Wildcard series, but we will discuss who we'd like to see start for the Blue Jays in a Yankees Blue Jays division series. And of course, we want to remind you that game time for game 1 of the best of 3 between the Yankees and the Red Sox is 6:08 p.m. Eastern, 5:08 p.m. Central. With that Blue Jays game recap, we'll take a break. When we come back, Thomas and I will talk Red Sox, Yankees. Who do we want the Blue Jays to start against either of those teams, should it come down that way? Or who do we believe the Blue Jays could start? With that said, we will take a break, and our Yankee Red Sox talk will probably take us right to the end of the show, but that's okay because we are introducing BJFR, a show that will feature Thomas or myself, one of the two, breaking down each game of the divisional series and however long the Blue Jays go in the postseason. You'll find out more about that when we return. Stay with us.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays Weekly Recap. Going to be joined by our host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and of course, everything to do with the Toronto Maple Leafs on Leafs Post Recap or Leafs Reaction, whatever it will be called. I, of course, will be hosting this season right here on the Sports for Beginners Network when we get things ready to rock and roll. Penguins Weekly Recap, which will be a weekly recap of our post-game shows that will be airing on the Ice and Behind the Benches, and we'll get down to that momentarily. Also part of our broadcast network will be BJFR, and we'll talk about that when we get Thomas back in the studio. But once we have Thomas back here with us, he will also be going into next season of the Blue Jays season. He will join me as a co-host from time to time on Blue Jays Weekly Recap here on the Sports for Beginners Network when we have everything under control for both Weekly in Sports, On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and of course, Sports for Beginners here. Want to quickly update you on the scores in the wild card. The Detroit Tigers have just beat the Cleveland Guardians, not Indians, Cleveland Guardians One in the first of 3 games in the American League Wildcard. Game 1 of the American League Wildcard series between the Yankees and the Red Sox goes in just about 2 hours from now at 6:08 p.m. Eastern. Pre-game, if you're watching in Canada on Sportsnet, gets going at 5 o'clock. I should say coverage of that game gets going at 5 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. And with that said, also still to come on the NL side, you've got the Dodgers and the Reds. Game time at 9:08 p.m. Eastern. Game time for Game 2 of the Cubs and Padres series, which is currently underway in Game number 1 and in the top of the 4th inning, with the Padres leading 1-0, is at 3:08 p.m. Eastern. Game time for tomorrow's game between the Tigers and the Guardians, as the Guardians look to get even with the Tigers. So still to come at 6:08 p.m. today, it's the first game of Yankees Red Sox, followed later at 9:08 p.m. At 9:08 p.m., it is first game of Reds Dodgers. The winners of this series, the Toronto Blue Jays in the Red Sox Yankees series, the Seattle Mariners in the Tigers Guardians series, the Milwaukee Brewers in the Cubs Padres series, and the Philadelphia Phillies in the Dodgers Reds series. So Thomas, let's talk about the game coming up momentarily as you and I continue to monitor those games. We just saw the end of the Tiger game, but let's talk about the game coming up in the American League Wildcard. This is the one that the Blue Jay fans will be looking at because this will determine Toronto's opponent. First of all, you look at the starting pitching. We're not going to look at the lineup for Alex Cora or Aaron Boone, but we look at the lineup, we look at the pitching matchup. You got Garrett Crochet going for the Red Sox against Max Fried. If it were to come down to a best of 2 or a best of 2 instead of a best of 3, which is what the American League and National League Wildcard series come down to, who do you like, regardless of what the lineup for Alex Cora and Aaron Boone looks like going into Game 1? Let's talk with the matchup on the hill. Red Sox are going with Garrett Crochet. Max Fried is going for the Max Fried. Which team do you think is going to win Game 1 at Yankee Stadium this evening? And a reminder before Thomas comes on that that's right, you, the listeners, have the right to let us know by email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com or on Discord or on our WhatsApp group chat. Who do you think the Blue Jays would rather play in the American League Division Series? The ALDS is the short form for the American League Division Series, and the teams of conversation that you can get in on our WhatsApp and Discord server, as well as over on our website and at our Facebook page, Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Link will be provided in the description of the episode, as this is also available. This episode, as well as the previous episode we did for Blue Jays Weekly Recap, will be available on the ice and behind the benches as well. So we look at the matchup, Thomas. Garrett Crochet versus Max Fried. Who do you think wins this matchup and gets the first dub of 2 that they need to determine their next stop is Rogers Center come Saturday?
Okay, look, I'm going to look at this from a fan base perspective. And look, Garrett Crochet, he's no joke, but also is Max Fried. Max Fried, Garrett Crochet, make no mistake about it, they are no joke. If this were to come down to a pitching duel, I would say that Garrett Crochet is in trouble, meaning I would rather see Max Fried take the Yankees to the Rogers Center next. However, again, back to the pitching duel I mentioned, because it will be. Errors play a huge role in the postseason. A lot of errors committed by the Yankees could be the downfall, and Boston could squeeze their way into the ALDS if that were to happen. We've seen Yankee fans rant about errors from Anthony Volpe, and other guys I will not mention, but we've seen them talk about them. At this point, if it was a pitching duel from the first inning to the 8th or 6th inning before runs started scoring, I would say that Boston makes the trip to Rogers Center next week. And by next week, I mean this Saturday. If Crochet and Boston end up making errors, I think the Yankees, without a shadow of a doubt, make it to Rogers Center. Now, let's talk about Rogers Center versus Yankees. No. Let's talk about Yankee Stadium versus Rogers Center. This is going to be directed at the fan bases. And I'm going to be honestly as unbiased as possible. But Yankee Stadium and Rogers Center, you're known to have big crowds. So let's just say 2 games Yankees in the wild card. Boston's gone. Now it's the ALDS. And it's the Yankees versus the Blue Jays. Yankees fans, you will have to be as loud at Yankee Stadium as you've ever been. So loud, in fact, that we at the Rogers Center can barely get our team hyped to win. Rogers Center, again, you can play a pivotal part in this as well. Remember, the Blue Jays have not won a World Series since 1993. Also remember, they have not won an AL East division title and been in this spot since 2015. They haven't been in this position since 2015, so it's another uncharted territory. If you want the Blue Jays, just like I know everybody in Blue Jay land, whether they are from Vancouver, BC, the Bahamas, the nation's capital of Ottawa, the area of Montreal, wherever you are that are Blue Jay fans, I know you want the Blue Jays to move to the championship series. But just make this noted. We have our broadcast, Sportsnet, giving us the games, which is great. But if we really, really want that championship series to be here in Toronto, and we're facing the Yankees, I said it with Yankee Stadium, I'll say it with the Rogers Center. We have to be as loud as the Yankee fans are to bring the Yankee players that pressure that they felt coming into the season finale of the MLB 2025 regular season, where they were 1 game close. All they needed was a Blue Jay loss, and they were AL East champions, just like the Blue Jays. If we want that division series in our favor, then we need to be as loud as possible so that not only baseball world can hear it, but the people at Yankee Stadium who are trying to be as loud as we are can hear it as well and get distracted. Look, when it gets to that division series, there is no we lose, but we still have a chance. There's none of that. There's only win and try to win the next couple of games. At this point, you take it 1 game at a time. If you lose, take it as if, okay, we know where we're at. We can regroup quickly. We can get this game back in our favor. Do that, and the team probably will deliver. So as far as players are concerned, play your best ball and you'll be fine. Now, Garrett Crochet and Max Fried, I mentioned the pitching duel. Scott, my question to Boston Red Sox fans and Toronto Blue Jay fans, if they are hoping the Red Sox eliminate the Yankees, and this can go for the Yankee fans as well, but we'll get to them momentarily. If you are a fan of the Red Sox and you want to see the Red Sox take on the Blue Jays in the division series, and you are Blue Jay fans and you like to see the Red Sox and Blue Jays meet at Rogers Center, my question to you is, are you really that confident in Garrett Crochet, or is this a last-minute pitching move to say we gave it our best shot? That may seem biased to a lot of people, but I'm asking honestly. I'm not asking to be biased. I'm asking honestly. Boston Red Sox versus Blue Jays. Is pitching Garrett Crochet against the Yankees a good pitching move, or are you really, really confident that if it doesn't go in your favor, that you are ready for whatever lies ahead, knowing that once you have even the series at 1 game apiece in the wild card, the last game is the big gator, which means if you win, you advance. If you lose, you're gone. What do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I'm on the same thing as you there, Thomas. I honestly think it's going to come down to what do you want to see? But yeah, like I said, Garrett Crochet taking on Max Fried. We're gonna go over the lineups. I know I said we weren't gonna do it earlier, but we're gonna do it since we got some time here on our show. So Thomas, I will read the Red Sox lineup. You can do the Yankee lineup, and we're gonna go ahead and do that now. But I want to let you guys know that this will be your last Blue Jays weekly recap until the end of the MLB postseason for the Toronto Blue Jays, because there will be a lot to talk about on that edition of Blue Jays Weekly Recap. We may sprinkle in a episode or two in between rounds, but for this very moment, BJFR, also known as Blue Jays Forever Reaction, what we're going to call it for me, will be our postseason postgame, and that will feature one of us, Thomas or myself, reacting to the division games for the Blue Jays and whoever they are facing in the postseason. So just to recap, BJFR, Blue Jays Fan Reaction, as I'm calling it, will be your Toronto Blue Jays Sports for Beginners on the ice and behind the benches post-game coverage for the 2025 MLB postseason. All right, let's go ahead and look at the starters. We mentioned our matchup. It's Max Fried versus Garrett Crochet. Since the Red Sox are the away team for this series, I will reveal to you our lineup for the Boston Red Sox, managed by Alex Cora. Remember, for Blue Jay fans tuning in here, if you've been with us this far into the show, whoever wins this series will be facing your Blue Jays Saturday at Rogers Center in the first of a best-of-5 American League Division Series, and two of those games on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, are at Rogers Center. Here we go. Alex Cora will lead things off against Max Fried with designated hitter number 30, Rob Refsnyder. Rob Refsnyder leading things off, followed by Trevor Story. Alex Bregman will bat third and play third base. Romy Gonzalez batting in the fourth spot, the cleanup spot, and playing first base. The catcher for the Red Sox, batting fifth, is Carlos Navarez, who will do the catching for Garrett Crochet. In right field and batting sixth is Nate Eaton. He will get that start. Their left fielder is Jared Duran. He will bat seventh. Batting eighth, Sedan Rafaela. Sedan Rafaela will get the start in center field. And batting ninth at second base, it is Nick Sogard. So in a defensive alignment, the infield will feature Nick Sogard at second base. At shortstop, Trevor Story. At third base, Alex Bregman. At first base, Romy Gonzalez. The designated hitter is Rob Refsnyder. And the outfield will be Nate Eaton, Jared Duran, and Jared Duran, and Sedan Rafaela. C. Rafaela. All right, Thomas. What does Aaron Boone's starting nine look like against Garrett Crochet? Behind Garrett Crochet, as Navarez will be catching. Gonzalez is at first base. Bregman at third. Trevor Story at short. And the outfield is Rafaela, Duran, and Eaton. How do the Yankees line up behind Fried and manager Aaron Boone?
All right, Aaron Boone. All right, New York Yankee fans, especially Big Nick. I'm sure you're at the ballpark by now, so here we go. Here is your Aaron Boone and 2025 New York Yankee Wildcard matchup leadoff hitters. Leading off at first base, number 48, Paul Goldschmidt. Your right fielder and batting second, number 99. The Judge is in the building. Aaron Judge. In at left field, number 35. Your designated hitter for the wild card number 1 matchup in Yankee Stadium, number 27. Giancarlo Stanton, designated hitter. At second base, number 14. Amahad Rosario, or A. Rosario for short, and in center field with left fielder Cody Bellinger, right fielder Aaron Judge. The Grisham have spoken. Trent Grisham will play in center field. Big Nick, lower this audio if you're listening right now, because the Error King of the Yankees is in the lineup for the wild card match. Number 11, Anthony Volpe, is back in the lineup. He is batting number 7. Your catcher for Mr. Max Fried is number 28, Austin Wells. That seems like a good catching matchup. Tune in and find out how it goes down. Meanwhile, for all of you thinking this could be the last chance the Yankees have, send the shortstop to third base for this game. It is Jose Caballero for the third base. Jose Caballero will have third base and bat 9th. Now, there's a reason I had said send the Yankee heroes into the Yankee lineup against the Boston Red Sox. Big Nick, I know how much you feel about Anthony Volpe. I know there's a lot of people who may be a little scared with Anthony Volpe playing in the wild card game. So, Anthony Volpe, out of respect for the Yankee fan base, out of respect for yourself and the New York Yankees themselves, I humbly ask you to make sure you know where the ball is every moment of the game. Do that, Yankees will have no problem against the Red Sox.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to some quick final thoughts on Blue Jays Weekly Recap. Reminder, this is the last Blue Jays Weekly Recap for the regular season. We will have BJFR the rest of the way. However, in between postseason series, depending on how far the Blue Jays go, you will have exclusively and just exclusively on Sports for Beginners, Blue Jays Weekly Recap postseason editions, if we are able to do so, in between series, including the divisional and the ALCS, should the Jays make it there. This will also include the World Series, should the Jays make it there as well. Blue Jays game recap is done for the season. BJFR will take us the rest of the way into the postseason for however long it goes. Now, Thomas, I mentioned earlier that I will be running Penguins post-game on the ice and behind the benches, and also have bits and pieces of it happen on Sports for Beginners as part of Penguins Weekly Recap. What else we got cooking on the ice and behind the benches heading into this hockey season? Let us know before we close out.
Well, baseball fans, if you're hockey fans of the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Islanders, etc., Tuesday shows are back. We will have hockey coverage of all regular season games. We will have Leaf content as well. And Penguin fans, for the very first time, right here on the ice and behind the benches, on the ice and behind the benches, and at a later time frame on Sports for Beginners, before every select Penguins hockey game this season. First selected hockey game of the season, Rangers, Penguins. See me and Scott back in the studio together for Penguin Pre-Show as we break down the preseason for both the Rangers and the Penguins, and Scott's keys to victory will return. Then have him join us in our own studio for the edition of Penguins Postgame, where bits and pieces can be found on Penguins Weekly Recap after those games have gone final. As for the Maple Leafs, you know it's a big season when you hear the extension of Anthony Stolarz and, of course, the loss of Mitch Marner and other guys, etc. Leafs Nation, I'm hoping for a big season. As of right now, nothing is in the works for on the ice and behind the benches during the Leafs season, but we will have test runs during the season. For this season's show, Maple Leaf Post Recap, which will be a series of games that the Leafs play, Night Owls included, if the game ends quickly in the Night Owl game. So if it's a Night Owl game and it begins at 9 o'clock Eastern, finishes at, say, 11:30, that will be a quick game post recap. If it starts at 7 and finishes at 9:30, say they are quick games, no one scores in the first, no one scores in the second, no one scores in the third, it goes to OT, it's 0-0. They will be quick recaps depending on the game. So Maple Leaf Post Recap will make its return this season. Now, for the Rangers, we will have a Rangers content show for you. It will not be Rangers postgame, though. It will be Rangers week in review. Every week, the Rangers are not playing a game. We will dive into the week that was in Rangers land for New York and discuss what went wrong and what could have happened to prevent that wrong. We will discuss all of the games, as many as we can, and to figure out where the Rangers are at. So that's what you can expect on the ice and behind the benches this hockey season. Among Dolphin post game, which will be football related on here, and the baseball content until the postseason has crowned a winner for the World Series champion. We will talk about the eliminated teams, what could have gone right and what went wrong. Plus, we'll dive into the off-season news that has happened and some of the rumors that have been going on in the NHL. Maybe there's some Ontario Hockey League stuff to talk about this season. You just never know.
All right, looks like some great stuff on the ice and behind the benches. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for Blue Jays Weekly Recap. Thank you so much to Thomas for joining us. We will catch you on the flip side, but always remember, as we await the Blue Jays division opponent, lights up, let's go Blue Jays. We will see you when we see you. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.